The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Wednesday, and boy, do we have a ton of things to talk about today. I don't even know where to begin.
Well, I know that I have to start with this. The station management has asked that I share with our viewers. Next Wednesday and Thursday, there are public meetings on the future of Fall River, cable TV, community media, and technology focus groups. On Wednesday, the meeting is from 3:30 to 5:30 at the Spencer Boarding School. On Thursday, it's 3 to 5 at the Spencer Boarding School, and again from 6 to 8 at the Spencer Boarding School. They're asking for people to come and tell this the consultant and the people there on what you want Fall River. What does Fall River need? What is necessary for Fall River? What you want in your cable services. Do you want another cable company? Do you want better costs? What are you not getting in the city? What does the city need? This is a wide focus group, and they really want your input. After that, there will be an online survey. There will be door prizes at each of these events. And on the online survey, there will be 2 $100 gift cards that you could possibly win for filling out the survey. So please help your local cable access channel and help Fall River by letting people know what we need.
Yeah, and if you watch us and watch the other shows on here, you should go there and give your input and tell them how much you enjoy us complaining all the time. And while we're on little news, because I don't want to spend a lot of time on this really on the show, there's a Herald News article about airport road work forcing road closures.
Yes.
There's a list of the detours. If you don't want to get stuck in traffic, check out the detours. So now let's get down to business. Oh, and there's another one about bills that would require robocalls. And since we're in like semi-public service announcements, I received a call from some scam artist that said that if I wanted my Verizon account would be put on hold until I provided them with certain information that they had to update, and they weren't forthcoming with their identity. So I hung up, called Verizon, and apparently they've gotten a few calls. So if you have Verizon landline, wireless, or high-speed internet or whatever, and you get a call from a robotic-sounding voice asking you to provide information, don't, because some people already have and have gotten burnt. So with that, let's get down to business.
And the first thing that comes up is a funny column altogether. I think we need a private Woofie.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Mark hits it right on the head. And, ironically, it segues into all the rest of the things we're going to have to deal with today. But, he talks about, make it here banners have been put on hold until the city figures out if the state procurement regulations have been broken. Is it going to get worse? Probably, And then it says, everywhere I've lived, every city promotional campaign depends on 2 things to succeed. First, the number of people willing to suck up to the city administration. And second, the denial of reality. And you know something? He is so right. It says, suck-ups we got, But, we may not be the capital, but we're definitely on the suck-up map. As for denial, every city slogan rests on finding out what your city doesn't have and claiming to have it. So, again, he's right on target. He makes so many he's getting so much practice. I think he's actually getting better at turning a phrase. And he talks about the mayor's hiring, and instead he covered a dog show at the Venus and said instead of whatever cute dog model came scampering out, I'd look at the pooch and wonder if the mayor was going to hire him anytime soon. Quote, this is Special Assistant Woofie, unquote, the mayor would say, holding up the panting poodle up at a press conference. His salary is $50,000 a year with a $5,000 yearly stipend for chew toys, which will be made out of $100 bills. You know, now and they said next they're going to look for a possum because anything that can play dead will be good for hiring in Fall River. Well, guess what, Mark? Again, this segues into the catastrophe that was at the City Council chambers last night, where Terry Sullivan again wants to increase your water fee, even though he had enough money in free cash left over from last year to pay his bills. Heaven forbid that we keep a tight rein on our budget, because Terry not only needs more money so he can put it in his bank to play with, your money, but he wants to give himself a pay raise too. So again, here we go again with the relentless assault on the taxpayers of Fall River. And when are you going to storm that city council chamber and tell them to stop this madness? Because, you know, the mayor was on TV the other day bemoaning, oh, I feel so bad for those people from Phillips Lighting. How will they pay their bills? Well, how are the people, number one, who are living down near the water that the article says are making $20,000 a year, 3.5 times less than the state average? How are they going to afford anything? How are they going to afford their rents, their water bills if they got a house? God forbid. I mean, you know, this is just, it's getting insane. And while we're looking at it, I'm on a rant, CJ, and you can jump in on all of this, because I want to tie everything together here. And we're looking for another one. And I'm telling you, I'm going to start a contest. Reach us on our Facebook page. Leave a message for us. We want everybody to guess who the new tourism director is going to be. Now they're looking to reinstitute the job of tourism director. Why? Because we're going to make so much money on tourism. I mean, just look at the waterfront we got. We'll read from the articles and the stats. People with no money, empty buildings, and they're going to build restaurants and marinas for who to go to. Who's going to frequent them? Shots fired in the afternoon, shots fired in the evening, children getting off a school bus with shots being fired. Everybody's going to come to Fall River. I mean, let's get a tourism director.
And don't forget our drugs. Don't forget our drugs.
Yeah, well, I mean, besides that, but I mean, like I said, I've been saying this for years. I can see them coming down I-95 or 24 from Ohio, and they go, well, let me see. I can go to Newport and walk down Brick Alley, and I can go down to I can watch the yacht races, go to the mansions, or I can go down to Cape and wander around Hyannis. And now let's stop in Fall River. Where else can you get, when you get out of your car, you're hearing gunshots ring out, and as Mark said in his column, you see gutters littered with nips and needles. Nips and needles. Yep, that's it. Just what we need. Tourism. Guess what? Tourism doesn't help an economy. Look at Miami, the worst city in the country to live in, and one of the greatest tourist attractions in the United States. You know why? The rich people get all the tourism money and they don't reinvest it in the community. So that's why Miami, in spite of having one of the most beautiful beaches in America and having all kinds of things at South Beach and making billions of dollars on tourism,
a place the mayor frequents,
is still one of the worst place in the country to live in. And I can tell you one thing: the price of a favorable letter in Miami is cheaper than it is in Fall River. Don't choke on your Pepsi. Okay, I'm done with my rant. We'll get into it now. Let's get into it.
Oh God, that was too funny. You know, it's funny you should mention that, because somebody sent me a picture of the mayor sitting at a table which said Snow Owl on it, and it made a statement along the lines was, for marijuana sales permission slips, $20,000.
Yeah, and remember, we want all send in your guesses on who's going to be the tourism director. Which one of the cronies? My money's on Woofie.
Oh, God. Well, you know, it's interesting because Terry Sullivan, at last night's ordinance committee meeting, because he needs an ordinance change, he said it's only 18 cents per CCF.
Only, on top of the How much is everybody's water bill going up? 200%? Oh, who cares?
Right, who cares? He goes, but the reason is that I spent $400,000 in our free cash from last year to meet the needs for this year, so I need to build up the free cash for next year.
Why do you need? What does free cash mean? Overtaxation. Right?
That's right.
Isn't that the thing? And you know, and they have the audacity to go in front of that council and sell this bill of goods, and they nod their heads. Why? You don't need any extra money. Do you remember? And I'm sure you do, CJ. This is rhetorical. But do you remember the times when DPW used to go before the city council and say, well, we need more money because, you know, we had a unexpected thing, a bad snow season, et cetera, so we're going to need more money. And that's what you do. You know, you've got a little bit of general fund. Each department shouldn't have their own slush fund. The fact that he's got extra money at the end of the year to dip into and he wants more means that he's charging us too much for our water.
Right.
You know, it's too excessive. But nobody cares. The council is just, okay, and it never ends. Like I said, and they're speaking out of both sides of their mouth. You got the mayor up there whining about, oh, these people won't be able to pay their bills. Well, guess what? Join the rest of the club in Fall River. Join the retirees, the city retirees. 60% of which are living on a pension below $25,000 or less. You think they can afford their property taxes that never ever stop going up, their water bills that never ever stop? They're all beginning to lose their homes, and
well,
they will.
You know, in fairness to Terry Sullivan, he did say that he wasn't going to raise the base water fee, the base meter fee.
Oh, how magnanimous!
Yeah, he wasn't going to raise the base water fee.
You know, yep,
but remember, he did make a statement many moons ago, not that long ago, I should say, about he wants the rainwater fee to be $75 a quarter.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's not like he hasn't already upped it to 43.
Well, he bumped up his retirement by buying back. He's bumping up his salary so he can when he retires he can move out of the city and laugh and go, pay the idiotic water fees that I just attached to you. And by the way, let's get everybody to Fall River. You know, and everybody's going to move here. Yep, the people, and statistically, what did they say? They said 39% of the people who live, you know, in the district for the renewal, 39%. That's almost, you know, let's round it out to 40. You know, that's almost, you know, it's pretty close to half, 10%. Have less than a high school education, and 33% who live on the waterfront. And what do we say? The only way to save this city is give people a skill and an education. So, you know, you look at these statistics, and then you try to reconcile this with this endless increase in taxes with the idea that you're actually going to think that this is going to work. Who is going to, you know, who is going to come to this city? Do you really believe? Let me ask this question. And I mean, if you believe this, I'll provide you the cab fare to the mental institution. You think somebody from Newton, a city where 75%, now remember, I didn't say 39, 75% is a lot more, but they don't have a high school education. 75% of the residents in Newton have a baccalaureate degree. 75% of the people in Newton, the city of Newton, have college degrees. Yeah, absolutely. They're going to just sell their house where there's virtually no crime, no drugs, a great school system, and run to Fall River because we're going to spend $1 zillion on urban renewal, and all the contractors who are connected and all the people who are connected are going to make millions of dollars, and they're all going to move out of town. And who's going to be left here? Not at 39% without a high school education will be up to 50% by the end of the urban renewal, and this place will still be a dump because they're not investing in what we should be doing. Education, technical advance, getting people prepared to work in a job market. No, they will not do that. What they're going to do is what politicians always do. Give you a song and a dance and paint it like, here we are. You know, we have Xanadu. We're building Xanadu. And that's what they tell you. They sell you that bill of goods, and I blame everybody in this community because you're at fault. You won't vote these idiots out of office, mayor and city council. I will say to you at the next election, if you vote for anybody who approves a budget with all these tax increases and endless pay raises and endless new positions, you deserve what you get. You deserve what you get. CJ's peering at something down there. Right?
No, I'm paying attention. I'm just reading about the shootings in Fall
Yeah,
River.
well, let's talk about the shootings. Go ahead, CJ.
Well, I mean, you got one Friday night
Yep.
where the victim is uncooperative. You'd think that if you'd be shot, you'd want to cooperate on finding the guy who shot you.
Well, not unless well, then again, you're in Fall River. If you're cooperative, you might get shot again. This time in the head, not in the leg.
Exactly.
So.
And but we don't have gunshots in Fall River.
No.
You know, and then we go over to afternoon shootings yesterday, where 8 shots were fired on 4th Street. And this is during the period of time when kids are getting off the school bus.
That's scary. I mean,
That is truly scary.
Now you know the city is out of control when they have so little regard that they're shooting, they're firing off rounds with indiscriminately. And people go, oh, well, but how many reports have we seen in these really, really bad urban cities, that have tons of murders? You see it in Detroit and Chicago. How many times have you seen stuff on television where an innocent child gets shot in a drive-by, right, or an innocent child gets shot standing out near the school? And, I mean, this is crazy. This is not Detroit. It's not Chicago. It's Fall River. And what can we do? We can't hire a cop for every block, and for 3 shifts. I mean, the reality is something's got to be done. We've got to begin to look at where these people are coming from, and most of them are not originally from Fall River. And we've got to look at the problem. This is a symptom of a disease. We're not going to cure this by having a tourism director or with all these grandiose plans about making this into Xanadu.
Sure you can. The tourism director can say, come to Fall River and get shot.
That's right. I mean, we've got to deal. Look, it's triage. And that's one thing. You can't do triage, unless you're rational. And as a nurse, I don't have to explain that. You look at patients, and if the person's dying, tragically enough, you go, I can't really do much for him. I got to try to get to the patient that I can save.
Exactly.
And Fall River is not, it will take 100 years of education and the right move to make this even close to a Newton. We got 39% of the people without a high school diploma. Let's try to get 80% or 90% of the people who live in the city with some technical ability and some education so they can get a job, keep a job, and elevate the economy where they have a paycheck to support small businesses and let this city get back to the way it used to be when we had working mills.
Well,
because why was this city okay? Why was Pleasant Street and South Main Street full of stores? Because people had a paycheck. It may not have been the biggest paycheck in the world, but they had a paycheck.
That's right.
And they used it, and they spent money, and the city was a lot better then. But no, now we got the millennials who can't pay their own bills, telling us how to rebuild this community. This community always has been a blue-collar community, and you have to rebuild it by doing it with blue-collar workers, just like they're doing in Rhode Island with electric boat. They did it once before with the welding. Now they're doing it again by having apprenticeships and business partnerships to train people to have permanent, long-term, skilled jobs. That way, they're not going to be. Now, the only jobs in Fall River: dishwasher, pizza delivery, Chinese food delivery, and after that, there's nothing except being a rich owner of a building or a business.
Well, and that's the sad part about it, because this is what Fall River is now. It's not a working community anymore. It truly isn't. It's a city of dependency. It's a city of welfare. And, you know, Sean O'Connell brought out the fact that millions of dollars every year, and Sean, I understand Sean O'Connell's a Republican and people don't like the fact that she's doing this, but millions of dollars of welfare money every year is being spent in casinos, strip clubs, cruise lines.
Liquor stores.
Liquor stores, and Walt Disney World. They're on welfare and they can afford to go on a cruise line. They're on welfare and they can afford to go to Disney World. What are we doing wrong?
Yeah. And we're actually inhibiting people in Fall River from ever getting off it, because when you look at the jobs that are available to these people without an education, and although I don't think
they make more money on welfare.
It should be work fair. Those people should be assigned doing something, whether it's picking up the nips in the gutter. They should have to, if they're not physically or mentally disabled to the point where they can't work, they should be required to do something. We should have work fair, not welfare. Anybody that is, you know, and eating 17 bags of chips isn't an excuse not to work. The fact is that they should, and you see how quickly, but that's the problem. If you look at people on welfare, they're doing better than these people that are making $20,000 a year. These people have to pay for their medications. They have to pay for their health care. And virtually leaves them nothing. You're on welfare, you don't pay anything virtually for your prescriptions. You get your health care for free.
Actually, if you do it right, you don't pay anything for your prescriptions.
That's right.
Because when you go in, you say, just waive the fee, and they don't have to pay the copayment.
Yep. And you know, it's... So how do you expect these people who are chronically unemployed to even want to be employed when the system, you know, the system really is, you know, stacked against it? The welfare system should have been changed years ago. Like I said, I was a firm believer in having what they called my buddy Milton Friedman, a negative income tax, where people were given a job, required it. You can't get welfare unless you're mentally or physically unable to work. You were required to get it, to get assistance. And then if you had a low-wage job, you had a negative. You actually got money to bring you up to a living standard, a required living standard. So therefore, you were going to get, like, you weren't going to pay any taxes. You were actually going to get government supplement from it. But that was because you worked. And if you didn't work, you weren't entitled to anything. And it's the same thing now. It should be work fair.
Well,
But look, let's face the facts, CJ. The welfare system, like the drugs, is big business. The welfare system employs social workers, counselors, all kinds of people. It's been woven into the fabric of our economy in this state, just like the military-industrial complex has been woven into our national economy.
Right.
And these are the things that destroy America, because the only jobs left in America are jobs that have realistically a negative impact on the society, because they cause damage. Nobody wants to get rid of the drugs, because, you know, if we got rid of drugs, the police wouldn't get forfeitures, hospitals, social workers, rehab facilities. They employ thousands of people, just like the military-industrial complex. Remember when they were going to shut down the shipyard in Maine?
Yep.
That's the major employer in Maine. That's basically virtually their entire economy, the Bath shipyard. And they went crazy trying to save that. The same thing now. Look at EB. They're building another class of nuclear sub. That's going to keep that, you know, that's going to keep those states floating for a long time, and a lot of people working. And the problem is you can't eliminate it, so you got to build things you don't need. Maybe we do need a new nuclear class of sub, but we're building airplanes, and we built one plane that cost, like, I don't know, $400 billion for the prototypes and stuff. It was on full measure about 6 months ago, and the thing doesn't even fly.
Hey, what?
They spent $400 billion
What better way to do
in research and development, because it's government. You know what their solution was? Let's spend another $400 billion figuring out how to make it fly now.
Why not, right? It's only money.
But I'll tell you what, if they're getting a little shaky on figuring out how to waste money, make it here. Come down here. We'll show you how to waste money. Just watch the council, watch Terry Sullivan, and
watch
the rest
the mayor.
Of the band of merry carpetbaggers.
And watch the mayor, because he knows how to piss away a dime as soon as he can.
But remember, he's concerned about them paying our bills.
Yeah.
He's not concerned about you or I paying our bills.
Which, now that you mention that, during his press conference, he was all upset, saying this is nothing but corporate greed. They've taken millions of dollars in tax incentives and tax abatements, and they've given nothing back to the worker. But you know the one thing he didn't talk about? The millions of dollars you give away in tips, Mr. Mayor. I noticed you didn't talk about the tips that you gave away. I noticed that you didn't talk about the tips you gave to Phillips Lighting. I noticed you didn't talk about those. How about those, Mr. Mayor? Where are those tips?
Yeah.
Where are those tips, Mr. Mayor? Okay? It's amazing how you can call out everyone else, but you can't call out yourself. Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. You're the one that's causing this problem. You and your policy of everyone gets a tip that asks. And that comes from your city administrator. She said in the city council meeting that we've never denied a tip that was applied for.
That's right.
So that's you. That's you who's at fault, Mr. Mayor, nobody else.
I can't
And that's a
believe
shame. That's a shame. So don't call out the federal government and the state government when you yourself are doing the same thing. And we've said about tips all along. They're not the panacea that they think they are.
Yeah.
They're not the solution to all the problems.
Yeah, they actually have a negative impact. You're right. And how about city greed, city government greed? Why do we have to, that's the question of it. Years ago, we've changed. They've told that lie big enough. Why do we need massive surplus in all these departments? Why don't we do like they do in Newton, where they actually have people who would vote these idiots out? Why don't we have a budget that every annual budget comes in with basically a summary of everything that they promised to do in the past fiscal year, what was done, and what wasn't done? There has to be an explanation, okay? And then now you have what's going to be done this year. Why can't you require every department head to come in with a budget that they can live within and is not excessive and not have slush funds everywhere? Why does every department, like Terry Sullivan, obviously we should have a rainy day account in the general fund, but every single department running over budget, for what? I'll tell you what. It's so you can turn it into free cash at the end of the fiscal year and talk about how much money you got in the reserve fund. It's overtaxation, and nobody pays attention. When Terry Sullivan gets in front of that council and talks about using money, free cash, it means that he had too much money last year. And now he's asking for too much money again this year, and it happens in every department. And that's because they generate funds for themselves.
Imagine if the city voters voted in an ordinance that said that the amount of free cash from the previous year must be reduced in the projected year's budget. So if you have $5 million of free cash last year, this year $5 million has got to come out of your budget. That's the penalty. That will stop that would stop the money from being, building it up in the back door, building it up in an account for me to play with later.
Sure.
Or better yet, me build up and say, well, and I've heard this how many times from Kathy Viveris, well, we have extra money in this account and we can spend it. How do you have extra money in an account? This is supposed to be zero-based budgeting.
Yeah. Well,
zero-based budgeting means no extra money.
Well, we all know that we see it, but the thing is, the outrage is the people. You're allowing this to happen, and the city council should be getting about 1,000 calls a week.
They don't get it. They don't get one call a day, and when they do make a phone call to them, they don't return the phone calls. They ignore you.
Well, the only time they'll stop ignoring you people is when you bounce them out of office, when they go out there like there's a rocket attached to their butt, and then they'll start paying attention. Because all they do is flap their gums and make these promises, or even Steve Long questioned what the tourism director, how you could justify what he does. So if this doesn't make you angry,
nothing will.
Nothing will, and stay safe out there, because now shots are ringing out with kids getting off the school bus. This city is out of control.
Hey, have a great day. We'll see you on Friday. And remember, next Wednesday and Thursday, there are focus groups for you to attend to make Fall River a better place because they want to hear what you have to say.
And please come and tell us how much that you
how much
like
you love
or
the Spindle
dislike
City
our
Straight Talk
ranting and all the other programming here.
Thank you. Have a great day.